Hey, what's up guys, it's TechZoomer, talking to you here. And in today's video, I want to talk about the M2 Mac Mini, because this is my M2 Mac Mini review. Yes, in today's video, I will review the M2 Mac Mini, this beast of a machine that only costs $600. Yes, this Mac Mini actually only cost me $499 because I bought it through my education discount. But for all of those that you don't have any access to this discount code, you will pay $599 for the base model M2 Mac Mini. This M2 Mac Mini features 256 gigabytes of storage, single NAND, by the way, so it's almost like half of the speed of the normal M1 Mac Mini speeds. Then it features 8 gigabytes of RAM and the binned M2 chip. But if these specs don't seem that much impressive, what I'm about to tell you will blow your mind. Because this M2 Mac Mini has been more than perfect for me. I've worked so much on this M2 Mac Mini. Many of the videos that have seen me use and publish in the last week or so were made by the M2 Mac Mini. And I gotta tell you, this performance is almost unrivaled for this price. I don't see anyone on this industry making such a cheap but fast computer like Apple is doing with the M2 Mac Mini. This M2 Mac Mini is truly a great deal, a great price, and an amazing value. One of the best value Macs ever made, and maybe, just maybe, one of the best value computers ever made. But all of this will be discussed on my experience with the M2 Mac Mini in today's video. So if you are excited, do not forget to drop a like down below, subscribe to my channel. Almost at 1,000 subscribers, guys. 20 to go. Thank you guys for all of your support. Let's get started. So, as you can see, I still have my M2 Mac Mini back there. It has been 1 week and some days since I've got it, and I'm really excited to tell you that this M2 Mac Mini has been perfect for my workflow. One thing that has not been as good as my M1 Max MacBook Pro that I used before was the exporting times. But you gotta understand that that computer that I have there, still my main machine, my complete beast, that thing costs 7 times more than my Mac Mini, which is just ridiculous. That machine is an M1 Max MacBook Pro 16-inch with 1 terabyte of storage and 32 gigabytes of RAM. That's insane, but that's truly overkill for me. But it's an amazing machine. It's very fast, very bursty, does everything that I need, doesn't slow down anytime, any effects, any plugins that I do, nothing. The machine just completely destroys and just rolls on wherever I throw with it. While the M2 Mac Mini does the same thing. But it does need some time to render the footage, but after a while, like after you start editing, the beginning is a little slower than my M1 Max MacBook Pro. It's normal rendering stuff, like processing stuff, stabilization effects. It just takes 1 second extra. But then, after a while, the M2 Mac Mini just renders the footage, and it's a machine. This machine is really fast while editing, like multiple layers of 4K footage. It's really impressive. Like, you can use motion VFX, text, effects, transitions, everything. This machine just does it really well. And I gotta tell you, I'm really impressed by the performance of this machine on Final Cut Pro. Maybe because of the new encoders on the M2 chip, this machine is just insane. But I've been talking about Final Cut Pro for a while, and I haven't discussed the main focus of the M2 Mac Mini's market, which is the average consumer. The average consumer will not care about these stats that I'm giving you. The average consumer just wants to browse the web, just wants a computer to do some PowerPoints, some Word, or even, maximum, some Excel. This is just the true reality of the M2 Mac Minis. And I do believe that this computer, if used properly, should be a 5 to 10 year machine, maximum. Because this machine is really impressive in terms of performance. And if you can do high-end stuff, very high-end stuff on the video editing and software editing process right now, then I'm sure it will be able to browse the web and do all of those simple tasks in the future. That's why I think that the M2 Mac Mini is truly an amazing deal. But think with me, the M2 Mac Mini only costs $600. How is Apple making money with this machine? Well, it's pretty simple. The M2 Mac Mini is a box, not more than that. You don't get more than that. You don't get a keyboard, you don't get a mouse, you don't get a display, nothing. It's just an aluminum box with the M2 chip inside. So basically, Apple is selling you an M2 chip with some hardware attached to it, like some I/O and some heatsink and fan to make the chip work. Other than that, it's just the M2 chip they are selling you. That's why they can get this machine really cheap. And this aluminum case that they send you is actually pretty cool. It's bigger than I thought. I thought it would be the size of an Apple TV, but that's like my expectation. Reality is this machine is like 10 centimeters by 10 centimeters, or even bigger, like 12 to 12. I don't know. You can see the dimensions and specs on the website. But still, this machine is not that thick, not that big, and sits pretty well on the table. I have mine right here. As you can see, sits pretty well. The MacBook Pro is this one, so you can see about the length when compared to the MacBook Pro. It's not that big, and it's not that tall. If you have the Mac Studio, imagine like 2.5 Mac Minis on top of each other. That's probably the Mac Studio. But in terms of dimensions, it's a very small machine. Doesn't make noise. I never heard this Mac Mini spinning off his fans. Maybe when I was doing my, I don't know, Cinebench tests for the benchmarks, maybe I noticed the fan turning on a bit. Other than that, this M2 chip runs really cool on this Mac Mini, and that's one of the biggest features of this Mac Mini is how cool it runs. So I'm really happy about the performance of my M2 Mac Mini. In terms of the most important part of it, because it's just a box, doesn't have a hardware, it doesn't have display, the performance here, which is the main focus of the M2 Mac Mini, is truly there. Like, it's the best performance per dollar you can get in terms of a computer out there. It gets the M2 chip, plenty of power, the same chip present on the M2 MacBook Air that I already did a review, present also on the M2 MacBook Pro, the base model MacBook Pro. So this chip just runs wow on the M2 Mac Mini. It's probably the best iteration of the M2 chip just because it has the best cooling system of them all, and it scores pretty well. Here's some benchmarks so you can understand the real power of the M2 Mac Mini.
So let's start this benchmark run by using Cinebench R23 on the M2 Mac Mini. And as you can see, for single core performance, the M2 Mac Mini scores 1640 points, while the M2 MacBook Air only scores 1594 points. Yes, on the margin of error. But for multi-core performance, the Mac Mini scores 7900 points. As for the MacBook Air, I totally forgot about doing the benchmark when I had it, so I went to the internet, I did some research, and I found that it scores 7706. This came from The Verge benchmarks. So, recapitulating, the M2 Mac Mini scores single core performance of 1640 points, while the M2 MacBook Air scores 1594. But on the multi-core performance, the M2 Mac Mini scores 7900 points, while the M2 MacBook Air scores 7706 points. Overall, this is about a 2% jump of performance on a desktop when compared to the fanless M2 MacBook Air. Not that much. As for the Geekbench 5, the M2 Mac Mini scores for single core 1900 points and 8363 for multi-core performance, while the M2 MacBook Air scores the same 1900 points for single core and 8781 for multi-core. A little bit small jump over the M2 Mac Mini. But for the medal test for Geekbench 5, the GPU test, the M2 Mac Mini overperforms the M2 MacBook Air by about 4000 points. The M2 Mac Mini scores 30,000 points, while the M2 MacBook Air scores 26,000. This is more of a significant jump over the M2 MacBook Air. Before I end these benchmarks, I just want to test out the speeds of the SSDs. If you don't know, these two machines are built. These are the two base models. Respectively, they only have 256 GB of storage, so they only have, I would say, half of the speed. But let's test it out and see if there's any difference between these two binned SSDs. As for the M2 Mac Mini, the speeds go around 1500 megabytes, they hover around right there, and they can go as low as 900. But this is very interesting because the read and write are 1500 and the M2 MacBook Air goes about the same. The computers have the same SSDs, the same binned version.
So, as you saw, all of those benchmarks was really impressive. But benchmarks are just numbers. The M2 Mac Mini, in reality, completely shows it. Because I do believe the M2 Mac Mini just is more than enough for 90% of people watching this video. That's why I'm completely recommending you, the consumer, to buy the M2 Mac Mini. If you have a display at home, if you have a keyboard, if you have a mouse, then the M2 Mac Mini is for you. Because you just need to upgrade your machine, the brains of your setup. And the M2 Mac Mini is perfect to do that because it's really cheap, it's really powerful, and it's like a waste-free computer. For example, if you buy an iMac, imagine this 24-inch right now, it will bring you the M1 chip and a 24-inch LCD panel. This panel is really good. It's 4K, it's IPS, and it's really color accurate. But in about 3-4 years, you want to upgrade your machine. The M1 is not cutting for you right now, and so you need to upgrade. So you choose to go for the M4 iMac again. What happens is, the amazing display, keyboard, and mouse, the only thing that is saved is the keyboard and the mouse. But if you buy an iMac, then it comes already with another keyboard, another mouse, and at that time, it's going to be probably the 2nd generation Magic Mouse, or the 3rd generation, or the 3rd generation Magic Keyboard, and then you were like, and you throw away or you sell the other accessories. So that's e-waste. Even so, the display on this iMac will be thrown away also, because this amazing 4K panel, it's completely obsolete because of that M1 chip that is inside. Although an all-in-one has tons of advantages, and I really do love all-in-ones, I have an iMac at home, a 21-inch Intel machine from 2017, it's stuck on time because it has an amazing panel, but the Intel chip is really slow. And that's the biggest downside of an iMac. It's not an external display. After a while, you cannot do anything with it, and you cannot upgrade the chip inside. So it's a dead machine when the chip turns obsolete. While the M2 Mac Mini, it isn't, because you can buy your display, your preferred keyboard, and your preferred mouse. And when it's time to upgrade a machine, just upgrade the brains, and voila, you have the same setup with the same amazing display that you paid for, the same amazing keyboard that you really wanted and chose, and of course the same mouse. It's just a better deal. Like, I don't see a better deal for people that want to save money and do not waste anything. So, want to save the environment, e-waste, all of those talks. I do believe it's important that this M2 Mac Mini proliferates. I do believe that it's important that a lot of people start to think about that. Although an all-in-one is cool and I love them, I think that the form factor of the M1 Mac Mini and the M2 Mac Mini and even the Mac Studio is more important than the all-in-one. That's why I do believe Apple is focused on the Mac Studio for fullest performance, is focused on the Mac Mini for the best performance per dollar, and it's not focused on an iMac Pro. Although it would be pretty cool to see an iMac Pro. Do that, Apple. But still, I do believe that the M1 Mac Mini, the M2 Mac Mini are really good deals right now. If you don't want to spend the extra $100 on the M2 Mac Mini, or at least you want to buy the base model, but you are worried about the speed of the SSDs, then go for the M1 Mac Mini. They are really cheap right now. You can buy them refurbished for around $450 or $400 if you can find one. So they are amazing deals. Go check them out. Like right now, you can get stupidly fast computers by so cheap that 3-4 years ago you couldn't. And that's the power of Apple Silicon. Before I finish this review, I just want to tell you about the hardware and I/O of the M2 Mac Mini. It's pretty simple. It has 2 USB-Cs, 2 USB-As, 1 headphone jack, 1 Ethernet port, which can be upgraded on the configurator to a 10 GB Ethernet port by $100, and that's it. You don't get any more. You don't get SD card slots, nothing. And 2 Thunderbolt 4 ports. That's a point where I see Apple needs to improve. Minimum 3. I think that 4 will be ideal. Although the MacBook Pros only have 3, so maybe put a 3rd Thunderbolt 4 port. That would be insane. Because right now I have my display connected via USB-C. Then I have my microphone connected via USB-C. So I don't have any more USB-C ports. I would have to buy a USB hub. That gives a lot of trouble. So, in my opinion, I do think that Apple just needs to improve the I/O and maybe, just maybe, end this SSD saving costs measure once and for all. It's not great for the consumer and it's not great for your image. And you are probably not saving that much. I do believe so. But let me know in the comments below what you think about the M2 Mac Mini. My experience has been more than perfect, and I will have a comparison video against my M1 Max MacBook Pro. If that video is out, then it's the video coming next to this one, but if it's not out, just wait. Do not forget to drop a like down below, subscribe to the channel so you don't miss that video, and of course, go into the comments and tell me what you think about the M2 Mac Mini. Do you think it's a good value? Do you think it's overpriced? Or do you think that it's just not powerful enough for you? All of that on the comments down below. This has been Tech Summer talking to you here. Bye-bye.